So hey, good afternoon to Singapore and Southeast Asia, and good morning to the Nordics. My name is Sami Askelainen from Nordic Innovation House, and I'll be your host today. So it is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you all our Water, Waste and Food virtual market entry program and our knowledge sharing session with Thailand. A couple of housekeeping rules before we start as usual. So please keep yourself muted when not presenting or asking questions. And we do have a time allocated for the Q&A at the end. But if some questions comes to your mind while you are hearing these great presentations, feel free to post your questions then to the Q&A and we will pick the questions from there. Please also then remember to indicate to whom your question is for. We are also recording this session as always, and then the recording and the presentation decks will be shared with everyone in 24 hours after this session. Good. So our program participants were mainly focusing on wastewater and waste solutions here in Singapore the last week, and then this week we have been shifting the gears a little bit to cover the broader Southeast Asia markets. And yesterday we had a very interesting session covering Vietnamese markets, and today we're gonna focus then on Thailand. And we are very, very delighted to have an excellent lineup again, experts to share their knowledge from Thailand. And first expert we have is Patarapol Tularak, who is the Secretary General Solid Waste Management Association. And then after him, we are very lucky to have a Peram Prasada, who is the CEO of TechnoBiz, sharing his knowledge about the Vietnamese wastewater and waste markets. And then after that, again, we will have a couple of Nordic TPO representatives here with us. So we have Axel Blom representing Norway Connect, and then Kimmo Pekari from Embassy of Finland. And again, then the TPOs are more sharing their experiences or what kind of experiences they have seen when the Nordic companies have been entering into the Thai market. And then at the end, we also have some time for the Q&A. And like I said, if you have any questions while you're hearing those presentations, feel free to post those to Q&A. But now, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over then the stage to Pin, and you can start by sharing your screen.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, and we can see your screen. If you put it on the presentation mode, then we are.
Okay. Okay, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Patarapol Tularak, Secretary General of the Solid Waste Management Association, Thailand. I'm very honored to be here today to present you on some of the information on the waste management situation in Thailand. And especially, I really like the Zoom presentation because nobody can see what's below my waist. And I just had lunch and then you cannot smell my breath. So I like the Zoom meeting. So today we will talk about the current situation about waste management in Thailand in general and some statistical figures. Then we will cover a little bit on the policy and laws and regulations that involve in waste management, an example of practice in Thailand, and then there's some challenges and opportunities. So as you can see that the municipal solid waste generation in Thailand increased every year. So now it's almost 30 million tons per year. And the recycling rate, the utilization rate is quite low. I mean, you can see that utilized is about 30 to 40%. And dispose, the rate is disposed. And you can see in the next slide that most of the disposal methods for municipal solid waste in Thailand is by dumping. So you can see on the left pie chart This considered as acceptable practice. That means the landfill is sanitary landfill or control dumping. And you can see that this is the number of disposal facilities. It's in the hundreds, 300-400. But the pie chart on the right showing the unacceptable disposal sites, more than 2,000, almost 3,000 disposal sites. Most of them is just open dumping, some open burning, and some small incinerator without air pollution control. And for the composition of the municipal solid waste, this is from one of the big city near Bangkok, in Rangsit. But in general, in Thailand, for organic waste, it's the major composition, major fraction of municipal solid waste, normally in the range of 50 to 60%. And we have about 20 to 25% recyclable waste. Recyclable waste includes plastic, glass, metal, paper, and those that can be recycled. And the rest is general waste. And we have some small fraction called household hazardous waste. This includes dry cell batteries or fluorescent lamps or chemical pesticides, some chemicals that used in the household. For energy production from waste and waste-related items, we have the power development plan that cover many kinds of renewable energy. But in this case, I just want to show you example from the landfill gas and from the biogas and incinerator for municipal solid waste. So you can see that in the plan, the target, we want to have generation from biogas about 183 megawatts. But the total target capacity for biogas energy more than 1,500 megawatts. So most of the biogas now in Thailand come from pig farms or palm oil factory. So it's not from municipal solid waste, but municipal solid waste we have very little projects on this. And you can see that the financial incentives that are provided by the government. Here is the FIT office in Pekari. If you produce landfill gas, you get 5.6 baht. But if you produce incinerator from waste, you get about 5 to 6 baht. And then while biogas from wastewater and manure, pig manure or cattle manure, you get only 3.76 Thai baht per kilowatt hour. And biogas from energy crop 5.34 baht. So we don't have the specific for municipal solid waste. For capacity of operating biogas facility in Thailand, we have 6 regions in Thailand, from the south, west, central, east, northeast, and the north. The major fraction for biogas in the south, because in the south we have a lot of palm oil and rubber. So we have a lot, and in the northeast and central we have a lot of pig farm and tapioca, cassava that has generated a lot of wastewater that you can generate biogas. So from 150 facilities in Thailand, we generate about 264 megawatts. And for the laws that are related to municipal solid waste, The first one is the Enhancement and Conservation of National Environmental Quality Act of 1992 and the revision recently that focus more on the EIA process. But in this one, the item that involves municipal solid waste is the environmental fund that support local governments to use this fund to upgrade or build a new municipal solid waste facility, disposal facility. And this one is, if local government want to build this facility, they have to be committed that they will charge, they have to collect money from residents for the waste management fee. But for EIA, only regulate the power plant that is capacity larger than 10 megawatts. And another act under the Ministry of Public Health is the Public Health Act of 1992 and amended in 2007. And this one is actually the first one that directly authorized local governments to collect and dispose municipal solid waste. And they set the ceiling for garbage collection fee. So in 2007, the household hazardous waste was included in the definition. Another one by the Ministry of Interior, the Act on Maintenance of the Cleanliness and Ordinance of the Country, 1992, and amended in 2017. So mostly this law just focus on prohibition of many things, like no dumping of waste in public area, no dumping of wastewater in river and canals. So this one, the local government has to follow both the Public Health Act and this law. And this one gives more power to local government to charge the waste management fee more than Public Health Act, and set up the new provincial committee to oversee all the waste to energy and waste management projects in the province, and remove the obstacle for public-private partnership investment. It used to be very difficult to have the public-private partnership project. And for the Energy Industry Act, that authorized the ERC to subsidize electricity generated from waste. As you saw already about the in tariff, FIT was provided by ERC or Energy Regulatory Commission. On the policy, we have the old policy, the Waste and Hazardous Waste Management Roadmap, and the National Waste Management Master Plan. The plan was not specific in detail, but try to solve the waste management problem from upstream to downstream, meaning that try to reduce from the beginning, reduce the generation, reduce focus on like sustainable consumption and production. So the producer has to design and make sure that the waste is reduced from the production phase, and consumer reduce unnecessary consumption, and then downstream to the recycling more and energy recovery before final disposal. And for the institution involved, you can see that we have the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, and Public Health, and Ministry of Interior, and Ministry of Energy. But you can see that the implementation is done by local government or local administration. So they have to follow many laws in Thailand. Example of practices in Thailand we have from very basic to the more advanced. Some of you may have heard about Saleng. Saleng in Thailand, we call Saleng means like a tricycler who goes around the community, household, and try to buy recyclable waste. And we have junk shops that these Saleng go to the junk shop and sell junk shop to the bigger trader until the final is the recycler facility. We have the recyclable waste bank in communities and schools, and sometimes we have donation making merit because Thai people like to do the merit making. We can arrange from time to time to donate like electronic waste to ensure that the recycling is done properly. Or we have in shopping malls in Bangkok, we have special bins or even the reverse vending machine, and we have this hazardous waste separation in the shopping mall in Bangkok, like the fluorescent lamps, compact lamps, and mobile phone and batteries, those kind of things. For organic waste, we have like a basic composting at household level. We have animal feed and plastic waste recycling, all kinds of plastic waste. And the RDF making, we use the unrecyclable plastic bags to make RDF. And biogas from municipal solid waste, we have some example that use biogas and gas engine to produce electricity. For the waste marine litter problem, waste going into the river or into the ocean, we have some garbage trap designed made by Thai company and installed at some Rayong river, working together with the Marine and Coastal Resource Department and the municipality. And the one in the middle, center below is the machine from TerraCycle from the US, collecting garbage in Bangkok Canal. For challenges in municipal solid waste in Thailand, we normally have problem with the design versus actual. That means when the local government, because most of the disposal facility in Thailand still taken care of by local government. Most of the local governments don't give concession to private company yet. Some yes, but most of them still build and operate by themselves. So to get the big budget, they try to design big system, and in reality, the waste is not enough. Then you have problem during operation, especially the waste to energy. Type of waste also the same problem. When you want to build waste to energy, you say that, oh, a lot of plastic, but in actual, you have a lot of organic waste, a lot of moisture. Site selection is challenging because we need to find area that is far from community, from water body, and not too far from the feeder of electricity. And this is a classic problem: technical capability of small municipality, and sometimes lack of effective emission control. In terms of financial, we have FIT versus tipping fee. That means sometimes you don't care about tipping fee because you think that you can produce a lot of electricity to get the FIT, but that means it encouraged residents and municipality to throw away more waste.
Oops. Sorry. I think can you hear me? My.
Yes, we can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I think my speaker has some problem. Okay, I have to be quick. And subsidy and budget at the wrong place. It's like when you subsidize the waste for energy instead of material recycling, then it doesn't follow the waste management hierarchy. On the management and market, it's like what I just said, that instead of focus on reducing waste or reuse first, but you promote more recycling, and sometimes you promote energy recovery instead of material recycling. Supply chain and lack of demand means that some waste, some recyclable waste, the government or the community try to promote making some products that look interesting at first, but nobody wants to buy it. Instead of going to recycling to make normal product that people want, we go somewhere else. And the problem is like some of the waste that are recyclable but not recycled because of the transportation. It's bulky, like styrofoam or plastic bag. So logistic cost is a problem when you cannot transport a lot of waste. And communication, especially between the local governments and the residents, and among local governments, because sometimes you need cooperation between many municipalities to make a disposal facility big enough to build. And for opportunities, so we have a lot of efforts on plastic waste recovery and organic waste or food waste segregation. Now it's being promoted in many areas, to household level and up to local government level. And the PM 2.5 crisis for the last few years made general public to be aware of the problem, and then the open burning of waste and biomass is avoided. Still, there's still a lot of open burning, but I think the pressure from communities are more on this. And the new community power plant scheme to promote small-scale community-based power plant from bioenergy is ongoing. So the government introduced a new scheme to make sure that the community can benefit from the power plant instead of big investor get all the benefits, but the community can get benefit also by having the share in the power plant, and also be able to sell the agricultural waste of biomass or biogas. And the coastal cities are under pressure to clean up the beaches and the sea, with more focus on the river and tributary. And international organizations, especially with international donors, are active in marine plastic pollution now. So that's all my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Pin, for your great presentation. And we will then come back to the questions later on after the other presentations. And now I would like to hand over then the stage to Peram Prasada, who's CEO of TechnoBiz. So Peram, over to you.
Okay, can you hear me well?
Yeah, and we can see your slides. So stage is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Sami, and thank you, Axel, for giving me an opportunity to present information on the Thailand water and wastewater market potential. Let me quickly introduce about myself. I'm a bit different background from all of you. Okay, I have a degree in chemical engineering and also the master's in water and wastewater with experience in 23 years in polymer engineering and water, wastewater, and the energy environmental issues. Currently, I work for the TechnoBiz in the position of CEO, and also I have another company called the Big Spring, which is also two companies of mine. Just quickly, TechnoBiz is a company based in Thailand 15 years ago, started 15 years ago. Basically, I offer the training programs, conferences, exhibitions, webinars, publications, and consulting. Focus is on the polymer industries as well as the energy environment. And we have these webinars also, know-how webinars, technology webinars, and research and innovation webinars. I have this online programs, webinar series for the technology introduction. And do you have exhibitions which are focusing on the water? This is basically, these shows that I organized from the provincial area in Thailand, water and pumps and sensor measurement. We have the rest recycling recovery, industrial filtration separation, membrane technology. So we have these shows I organize in Thailand. Okay, so that's quickly, maybe be surprising. Hey, I'm an event organizer. How much I know about this, what's going in the market. Being an organizer, I worked in the industry before and in Thailand. And after 15 years ago, I started these companies to serve the industry and working with experts around the world. Relevance is basically in being when I organize events, conferences, I associate with a lot of participants, get to know what is going on in the market. Being in a specialized in chemical engineering as well as water and wastewater, I have some understanding. So my comments is more towards my understanding, and it's I think it's relevant to the industry. Before get to the my interest today, I want to give you perspective in terms of the industry water and wastewater side. Of course, I also cover some on the municipal wastewater as well. Please do understand every Asian country has their own issues. In Thailand, also being in there for last 23 years now, and you divide industries into the family-owned businesses, multinational companies, and also public limited companies. And the way of thinking is different when you invest in the water and wastewater. So let me quickly, so my perspective is, going through is how we hit these three areas and how you can utilize. I reviewed your profiles. I think some of the information I'm trying to share is relevant to you. I'm hoping useful to you. Let's get to what are the industries. There are lots of industries. Thailand is famous for tourism, but actually it's one of the major, manufacturing industry in Southeast Asia. When you talk about water and wastewater segment, I try to focus more onto the agro industry, petrochemical industry, food processing industries, power plant. These are really, they consume huge amount of, there are other industries as well, but where if currently the new technologies are implemented, I think these are the areas, agro-based industries, petrochemical industries, food processing industries, power plant. But of course, the automotive industry, also metal. The amount of water consumption is different from the the first four segments. This is, if you are looking for a market in Thailand, and for the industry segment, look at these, these main segments. But I don't say that you should also look for other segments as well. And probably Thailand, a lot of foreign investors, okay, Japanese and US, lots of companies. But when you wanted to go for, looking for clients, one area you look for is industrial estates. I think Thailand industrial estate authorities are really, doing very good job on managing the industrial estates. Let's look at, in Rayong area, just 3 hours. Those who are familiar with Thailand, it's just only 3 hours from the Bangkok in driving distance. These are this area you can look for a huge, market of water and waste. So they keep on expanding their processes, okay. And of course, they also have a lot of problems, environmental problems, which makes us, investment and many of the companies are rich companies there. So Rayong is Maptaput area, we call Eastern Seaboard area, and you can these industrial estates, these is where you really need to look for solution, providing solution to these companies. I think information about what kind of companies are there, and if I think Mr. Axel can share the information, could be good contact is Mr. Axel to support you how to explore Chonburi as well, and in the Bangkok area. These other industry areas are a bit smaller, but if you look at Chonburi, Rayong, and Bangkok area, where all these industrialist area, there are a huge number of industrial factories out there, and they use a huge amount of water. You can provide a solution there, and a lot of companies are try to be as up to date in terms of technology. Okay. Okay, this is so that's just sharing you about industry estates and information available in public space as well. And I suggest to reach out to the Mr. Axel to assist you on this. Okay, one area. Well, guys, I've been since 23 years. I see the water being backgraded in water and wastewater engineering. And every lots of companies there, water and wastewater in Thailand, local, non-local. See, if you want to explore, you are coming a newcomer, you want to explore what areas you look for. That is what is important, rather than beating the same bush with other, as it's in Asia, is all about price competitive. Okay, so what you need to look at is what areas you really specialize. Well, water recycling is not a new thing. It's been there. We're talking. We have a drought. We have heavy. Now it's raining now here. I'm not sure other people places. We have lots of problems with the drying. Into droughts, and particularly in the Rayong area, we had a problem with water. At the time, everybody talked about water recycling. Water still having a problem. Many companies and certain places you have a problem with the groundwater shortage. So I suggest companies, providing solutions to the water recycling areas, particularly on the membrane side, whether it's UFMF, nanofiltration, or reverse osmosis. Of course, as you know, this is a combination of various solutions on the recycling, but players are there, but not so many are successful because there is, it's not just putting the two different machinery next to each other, you try to solve it. But recycling, it really needs a good engineering, good technical skills. So there is still a lot of options, opportunities are there. Membrane bioreactors, in terms of this also in the recycling part of it. As you may know, it's a membrane plus biological wastewater in combination together. This is also not something new. It's been there for a while, but not many are successful because the way to operate is challenging. And if you are doing a business on MBRs, or if you want to provide, and if you make it as easy possible to operate, a lot of operation problems because of sophistication of the membrane bioreactor. So please do look at these water recycling areas, and a lot of companies and food processing companies, power plants, petrochemical, beverage. These are the companies you need to hit. Even they have somebody provided. I think there are some bad experience as well. And if you with your skill and engineering knowledge, I think maybe you can can explore the market there. Non-industry hotels. As you know, we have lots of hotels in Thailand. Of course, the water recycling is one of the, that's one is a catchy, right? We are doing for environmental benefit. At the same time, non-portable use, they can utilize, these, whether it's a membrane technology or MBR system. So please do check. I do suggest MBR market as well as the water recycling, technologies areas. You should really look at it. But as I said, we got lots of players. Okay, that's what you need to understand. That sludge treatment, I try to say sludge treatment is also pretty much old. Okay, we've been bombarded with the filter presses long time. Then we got a belt press. Now we have, okay, in the past, belt press are semi-automated. Now it's so much automation there, and so you can really, if you're supplying in the sludge dewatering side, a belt press with the complete automized solutions, it has a huge potential, because everybody want to get rid of the sludge, because if you don't do well, it's a smelly, and it really causes a lot of problem. If you can create like a cake style, there is a huge potential. But of course, a good solution always is a sludge decanter. Okay, it's fast, it's compact, and you can be the 3-phase or 2-phase, but not so many players, and very few players in successful from some of Germany, but because of the cost also, I do suggest, if somebody is providing, I look at some of profile, they have the belt presses. I think you can explore it. Okay, filter press is pretty much traditional technology. Of course, there is some automation there, but handling the fabric and is a issue that I've been seeing many companies problem that. Okay, so in terms of dewatering, belt presses, I feel that is a good solution, workable solution for many companies. Well, it's thickening is a common. I think any engineering company here locally, they can build a thickening unless you have any sophisticated solution on that. Digestion, well, in terms of the digestion, okay, there are companies come with the solutions of the biogas recovery from there. If you have a lot of organic content there, I mean, I still didn't see much in terms of the digestion in real cases much, but there successful cases are there. Again, look at the food processing industry, agro-based industries. These are the areas you need to look at, sludge rewatering options, because there is a lot of recovery, value added products are there. That makes it interesting for them. Otherwise, they think, yeah, it's just a waste, what, I don't get anything. But there is a certain value out of the waste from these food processing industries as well as the agro-based industries. And boiler water treatment, it's a very common wherever they use a steam, they have to use the boilers. But in terms of the developments in the chemicals, scale, as what I see in many of the companies, they have a problem with scaling. And if you have proper advanced technologies and the boiler chemicals, which you create them less maintenance, sometimes the shutdown period so long to clean the tubes in there. And one area is boiler chemicals. So filtration technology, whether it's ion exchange filters or pressure sand filters, they use. Well, these are traditional technology, but nowadays people are using a combination of membrane technology to keep the water quality so good, so that the scaling problems will reduce. So I suggest that the food processing, agro-based industries, petrochemical industries that you can think of. So my interest is, if I were you, one of you guys, I'm looking for a market in Thailand. My way of looking at it is, you are looking for a market in Thailand. What areas in the food processing industries? Man, it is, as you know, Thailand is kitchen of the world, we call it. Okay, and we have like close to 9,000 food processing industries. And of course, you see most of them are processed food, canned tuna, seafood, shrimp. We have poultry, pig farms, you name it. All kinds of meat processing industries are there. These contribute huge amount of money to the Thailand GDP. And see what you can hear. There are two solutions: is water recycling technology, membrane technology, and also the biogas recovery, because you have a lot of organic in the wastewater, which can you can recover biogas. So if some company is still new to the they'll not implement the biogas yet, okay, and there is opportunity there. But is probably you may know, Thailand has been very active in promoting the waste to energy. It's not something new to them, new to us. It's been there for a long time. Okay, it's just a matter of success or not successful. But still, 9,000 food processing companies, and where they have, they need to use a huge amount of water, and also they get a lot of organic wastewater which can recover, biogas. So this is what you need to look at it. When you talk about agro-based industries, I'm just giving a palm oil. Palm oil is really money making for the wastewater treatment company. Because if you're somebody selling the biogas, like somebody want to sell the biogas technology, whether it's a biogas engine or biogas technology. My career started with palm oil wastewater, including the pin. Also, we know each other from palm oil industry. It's been saturated, man. But what you can do is improvements, operational improvement. There are a lot of traditional technologies, and they're not really recovering total recoveries. There are a lot of companies came, build the biogas plants, but a lot of now the companies are looking for whether they are getting a maximum out of the biogas out of that wastewater treatment plant or not. So if you have a solutions to improve in the existing plants, palm oil plants is one area that you need to you need to look at it. Rubber side, you don't have a biogas per se, because there are organics there, but there is a lot of challenges with because of the latex particles in the wastewater. It's not really successful in terms of biogas. But water recycling also, there's opportunity. Starch, rice milling, they consume so much water. At the same time, you get so much organic wastewater. Starch also saturated in terms of the biogas plants, so much in there. And again, you need to look at the biogas recovery improvement. That's where you can suggest the technologies. So one area I do suggest, which is a niche market, and I see is more money, and is a process filtration. If you have a solution that which can recover value whether it is a liquid separation or liquid solid separation, which really we can sell as a product, not just, we're talking about byproduct, main product. In the past, people use centrifugal, machines just to separate into 3 phases. But now there are different types of filtration systems, which is not many players, because it is to do with a lot of engineering, knowledge, compared to other processing, other wastewater treatment technology. So if you have a solutions in terms of the process filtration, we're talking about in the beer factories or beverage industry, or any vegetable oil industry, man, this is what you process filtration is one area you should look at it. That's briefly about what's my understanding on the industrial aspect. Now I'll give you some information on the municipal wastewater treatment. As you know, municipal wastewater treatment is managed by the government people. And whether it's municipalities or government organizations involved, they're already, there is a lot of bidding process. If you're good at how to apply it, that's okay. And if you're not, here is some of the, this I collect from the pollution control department. Sorry that, the information not so clear, but when I send this file, I think you can find a way to, look at the details. You can see I divide into the various regions, central region, northern region, northeastern. These are the capacities. They're all, most of them are in operating in the sense not really good in operation. And so if you are in the, if you apply the project in the beginning of the project, it's also take a long time, but now these are in place. If they have a certain improvement projects, I'm sure it's much easier than applying in the beginning of the project. So look at these various wastewater treatment plant. Many of them very huge, and so it's in the Bangkok area and in the northern area, and some more here in the southern part. We got a huge capacity, and so you can look at these plants. Most of them operate by the municipalities, and so I think this information will help you to target whether you can providing a solution for the municipal wastewater treatment, in particular in terms of the improving the current system. Just give you a glimpse of some of the wastewater treatment plants in Bangkok, and what kind of systems being used in Sripaya, Chongnong-si, and this is in the Chatuchak area. This most of the activated sludge systems, because that's one being promoted in the beginning of the when somebody is wastewater treatment at the beginning, everybody talks about aerobic systems, activated sludge, that's been popular. So most of the municipal wastewater treatment, it starts with the activated sludge systems. This is also the vertical loop reactor system. This is on the Bangsu. This is an activated sludge, and also they have certain wastewater treatment. They also have the nutrient removal as well, nitrogen, phosphorus as well. I got this information from our professor, Professor C. Vishwanath from AIT. This is just the latest news, the today's news. You can see, as I think, just want to add what Pin was saying about opportunities in terms of the biomass and biogas. You can read through it, and government is promoting both biomass plants and the biogas plants, and you can see the absolute clean energy. They're going to put 10 plants in 10 different locations in Thailand. Other companies as the Gunkul Engineering, is also very active in the in energy side. USC Global, everybody's investing. Maybe you work with them together for the on the water side. And see, they don't have complete solutions. So you can work with them. Some of them are public companies, so you can reach out to these companies. That's Flea. I just want to add with final statement is that see, to develop a business in Thailand, it's important to have a local partner. And people like Axel is it's a contact, get started with it. The reason I say contact Axel, because he's supporting the your region technologies to export market here is very, very important. If you want to win the projects, you want to explore the market, is a local players very important. Or you should think about opening the the represent office here in Bangkok. You can say I have office in Singapore, I can want to serve in Thailand. It's good, but it will be better if you have your own office in Thailand. It's much easier to reach out to the customers. Again, customizing the solution. I think everybody, every solution has to be local. The way Thai people think, the way Singaporean think, the way European think is different, and the solution has to be customized. And we need to respect the culture and also the way of the skill levels of the people. Okay, you can't talk about, we did so well in Europe and I can do the same thing, you duplicate in Thailand or in Singapore. I don't think it works. Okay? But it's a lot of people fail to try to duplicate it. But before you duplicate, you customize it, whether it is a pilot cases or, so I do such because I've seen a lot of failures. A lot of people came and left. Or they burned their hands. And so my suggestion is that, to customize your solutions. Even there, of course, the principles are the same, just only that modify in such a way it meets the local requirement, and publicize case studies or experiences as much as possible. Okay, to reach out to the target clients. So that's briefly, about what I want to, share to you, my way of looking at exploring the market in water and wastewater treatment systems in Thailand. Thank you, Mr. Sami and Mr. Axel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peram. All these very interesting insights, I have to say. Good. Then we're going to hand over the stage then to the Nordic, our Nordic colleagues in Thailand. And first, we would like to hear from Axel Blom, who is representing the Norway Connect. So, Axel, over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks also to Peram and Pin, two of my old friends who really know the business in Thailand. Unfortunately, because of the situation in Thailand now, we're all working from home. The COVID situation is a bit scary, but as we all know, eventually that will be over. But let me show you a little bit about Norway Connect and what we do. So I'll share my screen with you, just a minute. Try again. Okay, do you see what I have up on the screen?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And do you see my presentation as well?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So my name is Axel Blom. I've been in Thailand for almost 40 years. My background is actually from aviation, one of the polluting industries. But I saw the light some 15 years ago and decided to leave aviation, come down on the ground, and I started my own company in Thailand, representing a number of Norwegian businesses and also doing business advisory. So I was head of Scandinavian Airlines for almost 20 years here in the region. And then I started business advisory. One of my first customers was Innovation Norway. Innovation Norway came to me and asked if I could please represent them. And I did represent them from 2008 up to the time when they closed the Thailand and also the Malaysia office in 2017. And what happened after then was we had some discussions, including with Innovation Norway, on how we could continue to serve Norwegian, mainly Norwegian clients when Innovation Norway was gone. And that's why we decided to set up the network called Norway Connect. And this is where we are today. So basically, we do similar things to Innovation Norway and many of the other Nordic business advisory government offices, but we do not offer financial services, but business advisory. We do everything from market research, market entry, etc., etc. Yes, so what we tried to do then was to group business advisory service companies in the countries where Innovation Norway was not. So we started in Thailand, we added Malaysia. In the meantime, Malaysia has left, and we are looking for a new partner in Malaysia, and we are now looking into entering Indonesia. So basically, we do this under a common brand structure, Norway Connect, but the companies work individually below that. And we also work very closely with the Norwegian embassies, with Innovation Norway still, and the various chambers of commerce and the Norwegian government's financial institutions. So our mission is to help and to support value creation for Norwegian businesses through some sort of presence in Asia, and then mainly in the countries where we are, of course. How do we work? Well, if you're familiar with Innovation Norway and how Innovation Norway works, we are sort of part of the delivery chain of the foreign offices of Innovation Norway. So basically, you can say that in Norway, Innovation Norway helps with everything from company establishment grants up to the time when they prepare the company for the international markets. And then when the market that they are interested in have been decided, we can then provide services like market insight, market entry services. We can do searches, we can do partnership searches, we can do joint venture investigations, and we also offer, of course, practical assistance in connection with the establishment. And finally, we also offer representation, which is sort of going beyond what Innovation Norway traditionally has been doing. And when we sort of are finished with the companies are established, we hand over to the Norwegian business associations in almost every country, and help them to create networking events, business seminars, etc., etc. So here are some of the things that we do. Everything from arranging business meetings, participate in negotiations, bridge connections to sometimes difficult government agencies, help to interpret the local culture, which is very different from what we are used to in Norway, and also advice on business practices. Why should you work with us? Well, you can say that with our long experience in this part of the world, we understand the culture in the countries we are. But on top of that, we also understand the culture where you are coming from. That makes it possible for us to bridge. So the way we see it is that we offer the best of two worlds. And of course, we do understand Norwegian value systems and Norwegian management philosophy, which also is important because there are things that we simply don't do as Norwegians, and we are very careful in advising the businesses that this is sort of where the limit goes. Here are some of our past clients and present clients. So you can see we work with both big and small companies. I also like to point to some of the trade things that's happening in this region right now, because Thailand is sitting right in the middle of ASEAN. And because of all the major APEC trade deals, it's also a great place for manufacturing. So if you have plans to come out to Asia and start doing some sort of manufacturing for re-export to other countries, Thailand is a great place to do it. And as I said before, focusing a little bit on values, we have a very strict code of conduct. And here are some of the principles that we work with. And these are important to us. We want you to trust us. to do the best for you and to do the right things in society. And finally, here is our contact details, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I'm sure Peram and Pin are as well. The waste management business in Thailand is not that big. Most of the players know each other, so we're a good network to deal with. Thank you. That was all from me.
Great. Thank you, Axel. And then the last but not the least, we have Kimmo Pekari from Embassy of Finland.
Good afternoon, good morning to Helsinki from a very, very rainy Bangkok home office. I just, in the last 2 minutes, I lost my view completely. The window is just gray because it's raining so heavily. Thank you from my behalf as well for the opportunity, and especially for the presentations today. Very, very good information and a lot of good advice, I would say, for companies looking into Thai market. A few words starting. So Kimmo Pekari is my name, and I work as a special advisor for trade and economic affairs in the Embassy of Finland here in Bangkok. The embassy provides public service for mainly Finnish businesses, or actually only Finnish businesses. Our job here is to to support Finnish companies with whatever issues or questions they might have regarding Thailand. And as we are public service, there is also a certain amount of limitations on the, let's say, the depth of advice and help that we can give. But then how the system works is that where the embassy's hands don't reach, then we have a good load of local and Nordic consulting companies who then can help the last mile. But the good news, of course, is that embassy does not charge for its work. So whatever you get from us, it's always free and hopefully worth the price. Our embassy trade team currently consists of myself and my Thai colleague. So we are a very small team, and we work with all the industries that are somehow relevant to us. Our main focus is on circular economy and their energy waste, and then certain digital solutions. So by no means I am no expert in the waste management field, but being involved in that also for the last couple of years. So a few comments then to the actual topic of today, all which are pretty much just summarizing what we heard before. But I would like to take a non-engineering viewpoint to the whole issue, which is that in my opinion, Thailand or world does not lack solutions for handling the waste. All the possible solutions are there and have been for a long time. As we heard in the first presentation today, the waste management in Thailand is in, let's say, poor condition. Most of the waste is not handled at all, or it's handled in an inappropriate way. So the problem is financial, and the problem is political. There's a lot of money in waste management, and also managing waste in another way costs a lot of money. Unfortunately, the system that is in place in Thailand and in many other countries in the world currently is kind of geared to make a lot of money for a small amount of powerful people. This is a similar situation that has been around the world. Also in many Western countries, this was the situation, let's say 40, 50 years ago. So it is something where the keys to that solution lie in another kind of an approach. And I would say that entering the Thai market, the bag of tricks that could make it for you includes financing. If you are able to invest, or if you come in with an investment, and if you have a local partner who knows and understands how to use that investment in a way that it does not interfere with anybody's interests, you have a winning combination. This is also very much related to something that Axel briefly mentioned, and that is the Thai business culture, or doing business with Thais. Nordic people, especially my own beloved Finnish people, sometimes have a very straightforward approach in doing business, which is like, this is my products, this is the price, can I have the order, please? And it unfortunately does not work like that in Thailand or anywhere in Asia. Business in Thailand is based on personal relations. So before you get to the point where you are even allowed to ask if somebody wants to buy something, you need to get to know the people, you need to spend a lot of time discussing about this and that, and looking into here and there, and you know, hopping through a lot of hoops. And then if things go well, you end up in a business relationship which will last for decades. So I would really encourage people who are willing to do business in Thailand to, first of all, spend a lot of time here whenever that will be possible again. And then also having the patience and deep enough pockets to expect for a, let's say, longer sales cycles than what you would probably expect in the Western world. But as I said, once you get over the threshold, then things very often are very, very efficient and work really, really well. So there is a, let's say, a golden ending in this story as well. But I think that's about my input for this topic. Any questions? I'm of course happy to answer, and any issues related waste management, energy, or anything else regarding Thailand, I'm more than happy to help and assist you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kimmo, for your insights and these valuable and honest opinions. Those are always highly appreciated, because that is the reality. Let's then open the floor for the questions. And if I may go first, I have one quick question for Axel. Do you also help other Nordic companies to enter the markets, or is it purely Norwegian companies only?
Well, you hear me, right?
Yeah.
Fine, Sami. Okay. We don't have any issues with helping other Nordic companies. I mean, our cultures are so close, and in fact, I speak 3 of the 4 Nordic languages after having lived in Denmark and worked for a Swedish company, so I don't have any issues. Unfortunately, okay. I haven't learned Finnish yet.
I think that's understandable and okay. Good, thank you, Axel. Then, as usual, first comes, first serve. So either you can post your question to the Q&A, or then you can just raise your hand, and we have a first hand here lifted. So Evren from Artesfin.
Good morning, good afternoon to you. Actually, I have several questions. First of all, to Peram. It was very interesting presentation. Thank you. Actually, I have 2 questions. You mentioned that the companies who were chasing opportunities in biogas plants and wastewater recycling was not very successful. What was the reason behind of not being successful? And the companies, the competition comes from which countries? India, China, or who are the main competitors, let's say in general, and the countries they are coming from? Thank you. I have another question to Mr. Taluk, but maybe afterwards.
Okay, thanks. Peram.
Okay, well, still biogas plants, when there are success failures, I look in the aspect of the design side and commissioning areas. Many mistakes happen because you need to understand the flow of the wastewater and the consistency of the organic nature of the see, biogas plants mostly you're looking at agro-based industry. My knowledge more on the agro-based industry. There is a lot of fluctuation in the flow rates, and at the same time with the composition of the wastewater, which makes this a pure design. At the same time, they didn't look in complete aspects of the while they're operating it. See, even you operate for 1 or 2 months and you leave it to the company to operate later, the level of the transfer of knowledge is poor. Okay, and so I saw certain failures there in terms of the design and operation aspect of it. When it comes to the what kind of, see, I don't want to put countries per se because it's not fair, because same countries also successful. So there are many, we can say a lot of players are there. In whether you have a companies from in Europe as well. I don't want to name any country, but Europe biogas suppliers also had a problems. Asian biogas suppliers, also Chinese also have a problem. Even they have biogas system is good, but the biogas engines they use wrong selection. Okay, so there are it is a multifaceted problem, not just one say this country or that country. But I don't want to point anyone, but I'd like to say that same country have successes as well as a failures also. It's just a matter of related to that company has expertise with related to their expert, whether they have. See, if you are telling me that in Europe, the reason I'm mentioning how to customize solution to the locally, you may have good solutions in Europe, successfully operated. Here, the quality of the wastewater is different. The way the flow rates are inconsistent. Even during the design time and during operation time, it can be the over capacity as well. So these reasons made the certain companies have a problem, and also poor recovery. See, there is if you have a good recovery, you're successful. If you're not recover properly, only in first 1 year you good recovery, after that you drop it down. I think that project is not really good. So that's my input, but I don't want to name any country per se, but every country has successful and also have certain failures. It's just a matter of that company, that engineering person who is operating the system had a problems. Thank you.
Thanks, Peram. And Evren, you had another question also.
Yes, actually, the name of the countries was asked for competition-wise, not being successful or not successful. It was
Okay. Sorry. Okay, two questions, so I want to look into. We have many actually. You have US-based companies out there. We also have, particularly in Germany company. They're successful people and also Thai-based successful companies also there. Okay, in terms of the competition-wise, yeah.
What is the water consumption per capita average in Thailand?
Bin, you can answer that one. I don't know if you had in the notice. I think it's a per capita. We say that in the 400 liters per day or something. Is it right?
Yeah, about 200 liters per day for
okay.
household.
Yeah. Okay.
100?
200 or less.
200. Okay.
Yeah, that's 200 liter is the number that we use for designing the wastewater treatment system, municipal wastewater.
Okay, thank you. May I pass to my question to Mr. Taluk? Sami, is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. What is the subsidizing tariff rate for the biogas plants because I don't recall that you mentioned, you only mentioned that there is a subsidized, but I don't have the numbers per megawatt, for instance, the tariff rate. Thank you.
What is the material, the feed?
The
Material.
price.
No,
the
no, but
tariff.
the price, it depends on the feed material, the raw material that feed into the biogas.
So it depends on the feedstock. There is not a fixed feed tariff.
Yeah, for example, if you use wastewater and like a pig manure, it's only 3.76 Thai baht. But if you produce biogas from energy corp, for example, like Napier glass, then you get 5.34 Thai baht.
Complicated. Thank you, but anyhow.
I believe that Pin's contact details were in the presentation, what we shared. And if it's okay for Pin and also Peram and Axel and Kimmo, that then if the companies are very, I would say, technical specific questions, maybe there can be follow-up emails then after this session.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Great. Okay, I think that the next hand was then from Heli.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Heli Karaila and I'm coming from company Valmet. And in this event, we are especially promoting Valmet automation solutions to the wastewater sector. And okay, there was very good information already about this. What are the needs in the wastewater sector, and especially we have those sludge dewatering, sludge related automation application available. And was it so that your opinion is that it is better to enter at first to the industrial wastewater plant instead of municipal wastewater plant? Did I understood right?
I guess this is to me, right? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
Thank you, Heli. See, when I look in running the business two ways, and private sector and the government side. See, municipal segment also there's an opportunity, but it's a limited side. But in the private sector, yes, I think that you can explore in industry scale is more opportunities, because if in food processing industries, there is a value out of the cake. Okay, whatever the cake, the percentage of the moisture content in the you get. So, my take onto the people you guys is that see. I remember from Finland, Mr. Kimmo was telling me it's all about connections. So government project needs more connections. Private sector is about, okay, I invest on this one, what I get in return. Okay, and also it's much easier to convince the private sector than the the government sector. Municipality is all government people, so. I work with industries. That's easier than the government people. Okay, so that's my suggestion. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
If I may add to that a little bit. So, Kelly, good to hear from you. I'm actually working quite closely with your colleagues here in Bangkok, but haven't been talking so much about wastewater. I think anyway. I just want to support that idea that the private sector is problematic, but the public sector is pretty much, well, it's very difficult for foreign companies to access. You definitely need the contacts and the partners, and they are very long roads. But then, of course, once you get to the end of that road, then it's going to be open for a long time. But I'm not exactly sure how you're working here in Thailand, but maybe it would be good to check a little bit that everybody is on the same page with your colleagues here as well later on. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And I think it is good to have a more detailed discussion. And yes, we have office in Thailand, and but in the wastewater automation application, we are typically having partners in that sector. And this is also what we are looking forward in Thailand area in the future. And in the other countries, we have a lot of cases available in the municipal sector as well, and that's why we are also interested in about this municipal sector. But I hope that we can have a more detailed discussion separately.
Yeah, if I may add something, Sami.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, Peram is spot on when he says it's easier to work with private sector, and we have a lot of great industrial estates in Thailand, and that could be give some opportunities. I'd say it this way too: it's not impossible to work with municipalities, but you cannot do it alone. You need to have good partners, and you really need to have strong partners who already have the connection to the municipalities. Working with the politicians in Thailand is mind-boggling. So yes, it is possible, but you need a way to get there. But that's the work of your partner, and they will be able to do it if that is the way you choose. Now, let me also add a bit on financing. Because financing is a key to everything that is being discussed here. And we have a lot of export credit agencies in all the Nordic countries. And they are really, really good partners to have along with you if you do sell products or systems to this country. So before you venture out, if you really are serious about coming to the market with some of your good products, then don't forget to talk to the export credit agencies. That's all. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Axel. All right. Next hand was from Janne from River Recycle.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is Janne from River Recycle. I just want to have one question. So, which entities controls the local landfills, whether they are waste management companies or some others?
Who would
know the answer?
Who dare to?
For the landfill, as I said, that local government has full authority to control everything from design, construction, operation, maintenance of the landfill, but the law allow them to subcontract or to give concession to private companies. So normally in small municipality, they don't do that. They have their own local municipal staff to collect and dispose, and actually it's just open dump. But for big municipality, they normally give concession to private company, but they separate. There are so many system combination. For example, normally the municipality try to collect the waste from household by themselves, and then the truck go to the disposal site. The disposal site was sometimes built by private company, sometimes built by local government, but the local government allow them to take care of the operation. So it depends on each local government. They have different system. But I just say that mainly big municipality in Thailand, which is not so many big municipality, they try to contract out to private companies, but for small, no, not much private companies involvement. That
Right.
answer your question?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pin. And then next hand was from Devako, and we have Tony.
Yes, hello. Name is Tony Franti from company Devako Limited. I have a question about the business culture. As we are seeking partners in Southeast Asia area, now we have heard that okay, Thailand has very special business culture. So is it so that Thailand's business culture is very different from if you compare to Vietnamese or Laos or Cambodia or even Malaysia? Do we have to operate differently in every country?
Sami, maybe I should take that one.
Yeah.
The different business cultures, yes, they are different from each other, but many of the Asian cultures are closely related. But you have to look at several aspects that are influencing the business culture or the culture per se, and religion is very, very much part of it, of course. Now, if you look to Malaysia and Indonesia, it's mainly Muslim countries, so the business culture is sort of affected by that. In Thailand, it's Buddhism, and in the region, it is, what can I say, closely related to some of the other Buddhist countries. If you look to Vietnam, Vietnam is, of course, a communist regime of some sorts. And the same you see in Laos, but the culture in Laos, since the language in Laos is very much related to the Thai language, there are some similarities. But these are countries with huge number of people. I mean, if you look at Thailand, it's 70 million. Vietnam is 100 million. Malaysia is 30 million. So of course, with the big population and the different cultural aspects, yes, each national culture is pretty different. And language, of course, also plays a role. And Thai language is, of course, very different from our Nordic languages or English, meaning the writing system is different. So it's also an inhibitor in that case. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Axel. And maybe if I can add some things there. Of course, if you look at then the other aspects like consumer behavior, purchasing powers, the difference between the cities and then the rural areas. Axel already mentioned the religion, the languages, the currencies are all different. So in general, like I would say that you cannot go with the one strategy to all the Southeast Asian countries. So you really need to think about what is the local context, and of course the industry matters as well. But like you just cannot copy paste. So you need to have a proper tailored market entry strategy for each countries. Kimmo, you had something to add?
Yes, just to add something to my favorite subject here. So actually two things. So first of all, like Sami started there, in Thailand context, I always tell people that Bangkok is one thing and Thailand is another thing. Thailand is a big international, big city, which works to a certain extent like all the other major business financial hubs in the world. And then the rest of the Thailand is something completely different, especially when we are talking about a topic like waste and waste management and stuff like that. You definitely, for Thailand, you need to have a Bangkok strategy, and you need to have a rest of the Thailand, or maybe even southern Thailand, northern Thailand strategy. So that's one thing. Then an overall thing that's good to understand about the Thai culture is that Thailand is a unique country in Asia in one way, and that is that it was never colonialized. So Thailand has always been independent, and it has way less Western influences than Malaysia or Vietnam or Singapore or Indonesia, which all were under Western rule for centuries. And this is something that I see a lot of like traces in the Thai culture. Like Thai culture is more Asian than any of the other cultures in the region, and this is both good and bad. But for business, it makes things maybe a little bit more complicated. It makes you work a little bit harder. But yet again, once you work harder, the benefits are great. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Kimmo.
Thank you very much.
All right. We still have time for a couple of questions. So if you have any, just raise your hand and keep them coming in. Maybe I could ask one question from Kimmo. Like, you have seen a lot of Finnish companies entering the Thai markets, and we've been talking a lot of kind of like different challenges there. Is there anything else that you'd like to highlight, or are these usually the biggest bottlenecks and challenges? So understanding the culture and you know, selecting the right local player, or
yes, that is like in a big picture, that is mostly the case. Another thing which I always try to somehow communicate in a nice and positive and polite way is that it is easier for, let's say, larger companies with bigger pockets and a little bit more negotiating power to enter into Thailand than small companies, small startups. This is a cultural thing. Thailand is a country of huge companies. The large Thai companies, they are big and they are influential, and they are kind of also very knowledgeable about their strengths and their position. So they don't really see a company that has a payroll of 5. They don't really see that as a company. So that's one thing. So larger companies usually have the thing. And then I can't emphasize enough the fact that you really need to be here. When a year ago, when this thing started and the world switched into this mode where we are now, the Zoom mode, it was fascinating to see how Finnish companies did it in like a day. You know, it was like this. Okay, we do this online now, whatever. For Thai companies, it took months, and even now, I still have like Thais are like much more hesitant in having first meetings over online, and I do like a part of my job these days is a lot of, let's say, I'm how should I call it? I'm nannying meetings, so I'm kind of like sitting in meetings where I don't really have anything to say, but because the Thai partners trust me, so they ask me to organize and host the meetings with the Finnish companies that they don't know and therefore don't trust. So that's one aspect of today's working culture as well, that online is not so easy for Thais as it is for Western companies.
yeah, and that's a good point. And in general, I would say that the level of trust is much higher in the Nordics by default, where in Asia you need to really make an effort to build it. You need to make an effort to build that relationship, to earn that trust. But once you have earned that, then everything it's easier and smoother. But it's just something that the companies needs to remember, and also then build that into your timelines and your expectations. That trust building time is way longer.
That was very well said.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions then from the audience, I guess that the trust is a good way to conclude our today's session. And thank you so much, Kimmo, Axel, Pin, and Peram, for spending your Tuesday afternoon with us, sharing your insights and allowing us to pick your brains with these matters. I think that these were really valuable insights from Thailand and a little bit even beyond. And like I said, we will share this recording and all the presentation decks then in 24 hours with all the participants who were with us today. But with that, thank you so much, everybody, again, and stay safe, and bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you very
you.
much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.